Hi everyone, it's James from the Personal Trainer. We're going to run through a sit video today. So this is quite a basic behaviour that most people will train their puppies fairly early on. One thing that I like to try and teach with this behaviour is to teach duration with it. So I don't like to use the word stay or wait. I like to try and just teach the behaviour, and the dog stays there until I let them know that we're finished and they can move on. So I've got Frank here with me. He knows how to sit already, but I'm going to run through just the basics of how you teach it, and then we'll add some increases in criteria from there. Okay, so I'm using goat pate today, which I've never tried goat before, but Frank's a fan. So we've just got a treat pouch and just little small pieces of goat pate cut up, which he really likes. So we'll be using that to train with. High value treat, smells, and he likes it a lot. So when we're teaching the behaviour, and Frank will just sit a lot anyway because he's kind of looking up at me, but essentially what you're trying to do is lure the dog's nose into a position where naturally when they look up their back will flatten and their bum will go down. So we never push the dog's body down, and I know this is one way that people train it, but we never force the dog's body into positions that it doesn't want to be in. We just encourage them to move into it. If your dog is uncomfortable in the position, then just don't do it. If you've got a dog that lays down instead of sits, just accept the down and use that instead of a sit. It's the same principle. It gets them in a fixed position when you ask for it. So just use that instead. Dogs like greyhounds, Great Danes, larger dogs, sometimes they don't find it comfortable. Also, as dogs get older and the hips might get a bit sore, again, might not find it comfortable. So just don't force anything. Let the dog do what's comfortable to them. So all I'll do is bring the treat to his nose, bring it up, and he's in the sit. Yes. Good boy. And we mark that behaviour with a yes and reward. So we'll do another repetition here. So as he walks over to me, I'm just going to bring the treat to his nose, pull it in an up direction so that his nose follows it, and then his bum will go down. So sit. Yes, good boy. And it is really as simple as that. And most dogs and puppies will get that super easily because the positioning of the treat, as long as that's good and it's by the nose and then up, will mean that the dog will naturally go into that position. So you want to practice enough repetitions that you can do that without your hand being the law, and you can just ask for the sit. So as I say, you would practice multiple repetitions using the law. I'm going to now do it without the food in my hand, and I'm going to say sit. Yes, good boy. And now my hand becomes a physical cue rather than a law because there's no food in it anymore. Once we've faded the food law, and now we're just using our hands as a physical cue, we want to then fade the physical cue. We're going to do that by putting the word sit in front of our physical cue, and then the dog will start to pair the word sit with the behaviour that we're after, and eventually we'll be able to just say the word and the dog's bum will touch the floor, like this. Sit. Yes. Good boy. So as always with behaviours, the three things that you really want to try and teach around are distance, distraction and duration. So as I said, for duration, I'd like Frank to stay in that sit position, let him know that that behaviour is complete and he can move on to the next thing or go off and do what he wants to do. So the way I'll train that is by asking for a sit and then just gradually increasing the time that he's sat, and mark that with a yes when we get to it. So Frankie, come here. Sit. Yes. That was a few seconds. The next time I do it, I might do 3 seconds, and we just gradually increase that. Don't push too hard. So if you do 3 seconds, don't do 30 seconds. Do it in small increments. As the dog sits for longer, you might be able to increase it by 5 or 10 seconds at a time. It is worth mentioning that sit training with dogs can get a bit boring for them. They might get a little bit frustrated. It is a static movement that we're asking for. So I wouldn't practice this for hours on end. Just do short little sessions and maybe incorporate it with some of the other stuff that I've trained, like a touch or something like that, so you get the dog moving but then sitting, and there's a bit of a mixture for them so they don't get bored. The last thing with your sits is you want to practice those in different environments. So you need to proof the behaviour in more distracting environments and in different circumstances for your dog to truly be able to do it whenever you ask for it. It's easy for him to do it in the garden, but we want to get him out and about and doing that in more distracting environments. Likewise with your duration. So if you're keeping Frank in a sit for 10-20 seconds, I'd want to be able to walk away from him and come back, and those types of things without him moving. So I want him to get used to just staying in that sit regardless of what's happening around him until I let him know that he's done. So the way what I would do that is by Frankie sit, and then maybe move to the side, move backwards, move to the side. Yes, good boy. And then that way, nice, slow, deliberate movements. If I ran away from him, then he probably would follow me if we haven't trained it. So slow, deliberate movements, and then you can, as your dog gets better and better at realising that that you basically just ask them to stay static and stay in that one position, you can get more inventive, and you can probably get to the stage where you're doing jumping jacks around your dog and they'll just wait for you to finish doing your nonsense because they know they're going to get a reward at the end of it. So we'll do one more repetition of a little bit of distraction. So Frankie, sit. Yes, good boy. As you can see, that was slightly different movement, but he just stays sat. He was watching me the whole way around, which is absolutely fine. But more of a distracting thing for him to be able to just sit there and wait for it. The more you practice that, as I say, the more dramatic the movements can be, and the more stuff that could be going on around them, and they would just stay put. So I just wanted to add in a little bit of training footage with me with Frank. Frank's my older dog. He's 10 now, and I haven't done as much training as I probably should do as a dog trainer with him. So I wanted to run through a few little drills with him, doing some different distractions. As you can see here, I'm sort of stepping around him and I'm just rewarding him when he stays put. Like I said earlier in the video, I wouldn't do this for any great length of time. This would just be a few minutes, and it was a hot day today, not really suitable for walking dogs. So I thought I'd do a little bit of training with him in the garden, get his brain working. So I'm doing a few jumping jacks and making myself look like a fool, but he's stayed put, which is what we're after. This one, just walking away from him. So when you turn your back on your dog, sometimes they will follow. If they do that, just put them back in position and just make it a bit easier. So he started to follow me then. So I just put him back in position, and we went again. So I don't tell him off. I don't say no or anything. I just ask him for another sit. And then we repeat, and then he works out, he gets his reward for staying put. So just increasing the difficulty a little bit. When you move faster, the dog will tend to want to follow you a bit, so it is a little bit more tricky for them to stay put. This one I sort of just wanted to look as if I was walking into the house. Again, just to test whether he would follow me. If he did follow me, I'd just go and put him back, and I'd make it a bit easier for him. Shorten the distance, walk a bit slower. Once I was a bit more confident that he was going to stay put, I did a little bit of running. And he was doing really well with this. He was getting it really quickly. So I added a little bit of impulse control here. I put some food down there. I sort of put 3 or 4 bits of the goat pate down next to him, and then I gave it to him when he sat and ignored it. That one I actually threw it, which I play a lot of find it games with him, so me using that hand motion usually means for him to go and find it, and he stayed put, which was really good. And then I walked away and picked up the balls just as a distraction. Hope that helped. Like and subscribe. Thank you very much.